Good morning, students. In this lecture, we will discuss about the pulse communication system. So, if you are talking about the pulse communication system, so it is a center point between the analog communication system and digital modulation techniques. So, if you are talking about the pulse communication, this is the state in which we can convert our analog signals into the digital form. So now here we will discuss about the different types of modulation techniques. So broadly, we can divide our modulation techniques into the two parts. First one is the continuous wave or analog modulation techniques. These analog modulation technique is further divided into the two parts, amplitude modulations and angle modulations. And angle modulation is further divided into the two parts, that is the frequency modulations and phase modulations. Now here if you are coming in this side from pulse modulation, so that is further divided into the pulse analog modulation systems and pulse digital modulation systems. And pulse analog modulation system is again divided into the PAM pulse amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation PWM and PPM pulse position modulation system. As we have further seen here, our next key, what about the basic description of our pulse modulation? So as we have to seen that pulse analog modulation is divided into the PAM, PWM and PPM. Here when we focus our attention to the pulse digital modulation technique, so there is the PCM, so that is the pulse code modulation, differential PCM and delta modulation and adaptive delta modulation. So just doing enhancement in our techniques, we move to the differential PCM, after then delta modulation and adaptive delta modulation system. So by using these techniques, we try to reduce the effects of noise in our digital transmission system. So these are the technology which we have to use for our digital communication system. So now we will focus on again on the our focus our point to the pulse modulation. So after continuous wave modulation system, the next division is the pulse modulation, and this is the, as we have to shown that this is the three types of modulation system. So first of all, we will see about the pulse amplitude modulation. So that is the pulse amplitude modulation, the amplitude of your pulse carrier wave, which is proportional to the instantaneous amplitude of the message signal. Means here your basic modulating signal is analog format and your carrier signal will be in form of pulses, and amplitude of your carrier signals means amplitude of your pulses will be changed according to the instantaneous value of our message signals. So pulse amplitude modulated signals will follow the amplitude of our original signals. So as the signal trace out a path of our whole wave. So as we have to see, when we are talking about the natural pulse amplitude signal, so signal sampled at the Nyquist rate and it can be reconstructed by passing through the low pass filter. We have to also see in our further how you can sample and how you can convert your analog signals into the digital signals. So this is a basic diagram in which we have to use the instantaneous sampling. If we are talking about the instantaneous sampling, means we have to take the samples at particular instant. Okay, and these instantaneous sampling, these pulses in or spikes are at a equal distances or uniform time spacing. So according to that, if we are trying to this instead of transmitting the continuous signals, we only pick the particular samples from that particular continuous signals and we transmit these signals to the longer distances. So here is the basic equations ki how you can convert. So this is basically a GF. If you are talking about the capital GF, so that is G. Capital GF is the Fourier transformation of our original signal GT, and if you are talking about the GT, so GT is the basically product of our analog signal into the pulse impulse stream, and Fs is the basically sampling rate, and this sampling rate will be the very carefully designed in our pulse communication system. So you can see this diagram in this here. As you have to seen in this diagram, so you can see here that you have a signal, and that signals will be band limited signals, and there is a certain bandwidth w and minus w. So both side we have to plot our spectrum. And now what will happen here? So this is the Fourier transform of gt has the property that gf is 0 for f is greater than or equal to w. So what will happen here, if you want to plot these signals, or if you superimpose your these band limited signal into the pulse train, so there may be a spectrum which is plotted on the fs, 2fs, 3fs and 4fs, etc. So these spectrum will be plotted to the after fs intervals. So what should the fs? Fs is the sampling rate, means number of samples per second. So this is our basic features in our sampling. So that is the basically number of samples. So what will happen then? You can see here this is a 0 and this is a basic spectrum. Then again another frequency will be fs, and here we will again plot a spectrum. So 0 to fs. So there may be w and w. So what is the separation between 0 to fs to w? Means what about the w? W is the bandwidth of our highest bandwidth of our modulating signals. So you can see here that there is a 2w separations. Again fs to 2fs there is a spectrum of w and w. So you can take that the minimum distance between fs and 2fs should be 2w, means how much samples will be repeated. So it is desired if you have to select the fs less than 2 fm. So now what will happen here, these spectrum will be overlapped. We will again see. So there may be a certain rules. So what about the sampling process? So first of all we multiply our signals with the impulse train, and that signals will be converted in, we will take the Fourier transform, and its spectrum will be as we have to see in our diagram. And there is a basic sampling theorem, means what should be the sampling time period, what is the spacing between these two signals. So that is 1 upon 2w seconds. If you are talking about in terms of frequency fs, so fs should be always greater than or equal to 2w, because if you are not maintaining, or if you are not following this sampling theorem's rule, your signals will be destroyed, means your spectrum will be overlapped. If you are choosing the frequency fs less than 2w, your spectrum will be overlapped and your information will be destroyed. So, and this minimum sampling rate is called as a Nyquist rate, or 1 upon 2w, it is called as a Nyquist interval. So, there is a certain fixed rule for selecting the sampling rate. Okay. How much rate you have to decide it. What about the aliasing effect? So as we have to already shown you that there is a spectrum will be overlapped, because why this spectrum will be overlapped, because you have not selected the proper sampling frequency. You select your sampling frequency less than 2 fm, and due to this your spectrum will be overlapped, and this type of phenomena is called as a aliasing phenomena. So now what will happen here? Your information or your signals will be destroyed due to this type of aliasing effect. So you have to remember, you have to proper choose the sampling frequency. This problem is also aliasing when your information bearing signal is not strictly band limited. So this is also produced due to the aliasing effect. So corrective measures for aliasing means how you can correct the aliasing problems, and what factors you have to remember for removing the aliasing effect. So prior to the sampling, a low pass anti-aliasing filter is used to attenuate those high frequency component of signals that are not essential to the information being conveyed by the signals. So basically we are using the anti-aliasing filters, and that will be the filter out that particular high frequency component. And second one is the filtered signal is sampled at a rate slightly higher than the Nyquist rate. So two conditions we have to keep in mind when we are designing or we want to correct the aliasing problem. So it has the beneficial effect of easing the design of reconstruction filter used to recover the original signal from its sampled version. So that is the corrective measures of our aliasing. So you can see here how we can design our anti-aliasing filtered spectrum of information. So there may be a separation between this spectrum of all, and due to this, because there is a downward fall, so there is a not a sharp cut off when we are designing a filter. So that is a basically spectrum of our signals. Now we will see that in analog modulation system, some parameters of sinusoidal carrier is varied according to the instantaneous and impulse modulation methods. Carrier is no longer a continuous signal. So, okay, so we can see here what should be the parameters. So again, we will switch to the first point, pulse amplitude modulation. So before starting the pulse amplitude modulation, we will little bit describe our sampling methods. What about the sampling methods? Because our pulse amplitude modulation is the just like is sampling techniques. So as we have in our sampling technique, so what type of sampling or pulse train we are using in our sampling method? So that is basically PM is equivalent to the sampling. So we will slightly briefly describe our the sampling. Now you can see here this is the same. If we are talking about the pulse amplitude modulation system, you can see in this way the amplitude of pulses of carrier pulse train varied. Same thing is here, varied according to the instantaneous value of our modulating signals. So you can see this is the modulating signals, this is the pulse carrier signals, and the amplitude of your carrier signals will be constant when we are working here. Okay, and uniformly spaced, and according to when these signals are superimposed, so amplitude of these pulses are changes. So you can see about the PM signals. So that is a basic definition of our PM signals. Now we will little bit focused on the pulses in the PM signal may be flat top. So what about the flat top, natural top or idle top? So flat top, what was the flat top PM is the most popular and widely used because top of our PM signals is flat instead of curved shape, or we can change instantaneous value. So why we are using the flat top of PM signals? Because if you are talking about the noise, so noise should be interfere our signals, and when our noise is mixed in our signals, so amplitude of our pulses will be changed. So it is not easy to detect why these amplitude will be changed according to the signals or for due to the noise effects. So if our if we design our top flat top for in our PM modulation system, and if there is noise will be interfere these modulation PM modulation system, so there needs be little bit changes in amplitude. So we can easily judge that yes, there is a mixing of noise, and we can easily detect these noise. So that is the basically noise interference with the top of the transmitted pulses, and these noise can be easily removed. And natural samples PM signals, the sample has a varying top in accordance with the signal variations, and such type of pulses is received at the receiver, and then it becomes quite difficult to determine the shape of the top of the pulses, and amplitude detection is not exact. So you can see here this top are flat, not curved form. If you have a starting point, whatever is the starting point, this flat will be top will be flat top. So you can see here flat top. So this is the PM signal with flat top signals, and it is very good for removal of noise. And how you can generate your flat top signal? So there is a circuitry diagram. By using that, we can use this sample and hold circuit. Okay, so this is a sample and hold circuit. This is a FET, and by using the FET G1 and G2, these are the sample discharge switch. This is the capacitor C. You have to apply your signal in the input side, and this is the output side. And this is the when you are charging and discharging, so there may be a constant voltage with this particular point. So what type of point we have to providing, so we can see here this is a flat top we will increase. So what will happen here, the sample and hold circuit, so there is a two field effect, FET transistors and a capacitor, and sampling switch is closed for a short duration by a short pulse applied to the gate G1 of transistor, and during this period C is quickly charged up to the voltage equal to the instantaneous sample value of our incoming signals. Now, when sampling switch is opened and capacitor holds the charge. Now, after pressing the sampling switch, now it is opened and capacitor is a charge. So now discharge switch is then closed by a pulse applied to gate G2 of other transistors, and due to this the capacitor is just discharged to the 0 volts. So the discharge switch is then opened, and thus capacitor has no voltage. So hence the output of sample and hold circuit consists of a sequence of flat top samples. So you can see in this diagram कि by once at a time when you close this switch, your capacitor will be charged, and when you close switch, your capacitor will be discharged through this discharge switch. So that is basically charging and discharging actions will be held. Now we will discuss about the transmission bandwidth of our PM signal. So as we have to know, there is a certain duration of our pulse, or there is a width of our pulse, and that particular width of that pulse is a tau. So that is a very small compared if we are comparing that tau value to a time period Ts. So that is how what should be the value of tau, that should be the very less or less than the Ts time period of your sample signals. If maximum frequency in the modulating signal is Fm, so your time period Fs. So what should be your sampling frequency Fs, that is either greater than or equal to 2 Fm. So that is a basically sampling rate. If we are talking about the time period Ts, so that is either less than or equal to 1 upon 2 Fm. So if you are working upon the bandwidth or maximum frequency, so that is either greater than or equal to 1 upon 2 tau. And what about the tau? So according to that particular value, that is always greater than equal to Fm. So you can see here in how we can design our transmission bandwidth of PAM signals. So that is the bandwidth is greater than or equal to 1 upon 2 tau, or that is equal to greater than equal to Fm. So now we will a little bit focus on the demodulation of PAM wave. So how you can demodulate your pulse amplitude modulation. So as we have to already discussed in our, when you have to apply your PM signals, there may be a reconstruction filters and equalizers. So what should be happens here? Message signals. So that is the empty. So system for recovering the message signal empty from PM signal. So first of all, when you at the receiver section, you have to demodulate of your PM signals. So first of all, you passes your signals to the reconstruction filter. And what about the reconstruction filter? Reconstruction filter is a low pass filter. And after distortions caused by the use of PM to transmit an analog information, referred to as the, so due to here there may be some distortions in the PM signals, and that is called as a aperture effect, and these distortions may be corrected by using a equalizers in after the low pass reconstruction filter. So as we have to see in our diagram, reconstruction filter, after reconstruction filter there is a equalizers. So equalizer has the effect of decreasing the in-band loss of reconstruction filter as frequency increases in such a manner as to compensate for the aperture effect. So that is the role of equalizer, that is decreases the in-band loss of our. So what about the demodulation? So how you can done the demodulation? So there is basically equalizers, and this is a transfer function. So amount of equalization needed in practice. So this is given the Fourier transformations, and now we have to use the advantage of PM. So it is a simple process for modulation and demodulation. There is not much hard. Transmitter and receiver circuitry are simple and easy to construct. So the transmitter and receiving sections are also easy for reconstruction. What about the drawbacks? So now we will discuss about the drawbacks of our PAM signals. What is the basic drawback? The bandwidth required for transmission of PM signal is very large in compared to the maximum frequency of the modulating signal. So as we are talking about the maximum frequency of modulating signals, with respect to that, the bandwidth requirement of PM signals will be very high. Amplitude of PM pulses varies in according to the modulating signal, so therefore the interference of noise is also maximum in our PM signal. So that is also a drawback, because noise cannot be easily removed by our PM signals. Since amplitude of PM pulses varies, therefore the peak power required by the transmitter with modulating signals also varies. So there is also a changes in our amplitude of PM signals, and our power is directly proportional to amplitude. So if the amplitude varies, so according to that our transmitted power will also vary according to that. So these are the three disadvantages of our PM signals. Now we will focus to the pulse time modulation system. So that is basically, if we are talking about the pulse time modulation system PTM, so amplitude it is held constant. So in this type of waveforms, the amplitude of our pulse is constant, but position and width of pulse may be varied, and that varied according to the amplitude of our signals at that particular sampling instant. So this is the basic definition of pulse time modulation. And as we have to see that position of pulse or width of pulse is varied. So according to this concept, there are two types of pulse time modulation system. So that is the pulse width modulation system and pulse position modulation system. So these are the two types of system. Now we will take one by one. So what about the pulse width modulation? You can see in this diagram PWM. So PWM is also called as a pulse duration modulation or pulse length modulation, PLM. Okay. So duration, length and width. So these are the similar terms. So this is a synonyms of our PWM. So that is a width. You can also call it as a pulse duration. Duration will be changed, or you can also call it as a pulse length modulation. What is the length of pulses? So PWM, width of pulses of the carrier train, is varied accordance with the modulating signals. So just you can see here, this is the modulating signal. Okay, you have done the sampling. So this is the sampled signal. So how was this sample signal? The amplitude of sampled signal will be constant, and width of sampled signal will be also fixed. So at present, this is the basic function. And now what will happen after modulation? What will happen? Amplitude will be constant, but width of pulse will vary according to the instantaneous of the modulating signals. So according to value of these modulating signals, width of pulses will be changes. So either in positive directions, and apart from, if we are talking about the negative directions, so pulse width will also decreases with the normal value. So this is the factor. So our all modulating signals are converted into the change in size of width. So this is our signals. You can see here. Now this is a basic diagram. Direct method of PWM generation using the monostable multivibrators. So we have to also seen in our previous lectures how our monostable multivibrators work out. So there is only a single stage. Once you have to regard, your signal will be high and it will generate the high output, and after the certain time period it will automatically switch to the zero level. So this is a monostable multivibrator. So same these multivibrator is used for generation of PWM generator. So now what will happen here? Here are two transistors T1 and T2. You can see here, and there is a AC signals signal applied in the by windings, and we have to apply the trigger signal in the base. Your collector terminal is connected to the base of the another transistors. Okay. You can see T1 and T2. So we can describe it. So what will happen here? We can describe here. We know that stable state for this type of multi-vibrator is T1 off and T2 on. Okay. So when the applied trigger pulse switches T1 on, and whereupon the voltage at C1 fall off as T2 now begins to draw the collector current, and voltage at the V2 follows the C1, and T2 is switched off by regenerating actions. So as soon as this happens, C begins to charge up to the collector supply potential through R, and after a time determined by the supply voltage, the RC time constant of the charging network P2 becomes sufficiently positive to the switch T2 on. So T1 is simultaneously switched off by the regenerative actions and stay off until the arrival of next trigger pulses. So we can see here the voltage at the base of T2 must reach to allow the T2 to turn on and is slightly more positive than the voltage across the common ammeter resistor, and this voltage depends on the current flowing through the circuit. So which at the time is the collector current of T1. The collector current depends on the base bias, so which is the controlled by the instantaneous change in the applied voltage. So applied modulating voltage control the voltage to which B2 must rise to switch T2 on. Since the voltage rise is linear, the modulating voltage is seen to control the period of time during which T2 is off. So that is the basically working conditions. Ki you have to generate once you have to trigger, your output should be high, and after certain time period 1.1 RC, that monostable multi vibrator will again go to the low level. So this is a particular voltage according to that. So how much time period it will be turned on, so that will be the generated according to our what type of signal we are giving to this input side, and that particular point it will be charged, and according to that your signals will be high. So that width will be divided according to the instantaneous value of our signals. Now is the demodulation part. So first of all, how you can convert your analog signals into the PWM form. Now we will convert that how our PWM demodulation will work as a. So first of all, you have to convert your PWM signals into the PM form, and then you will apply your low pass filter. So what about your first target, and how you can convert your PWM signals into the analog PAM format? So you can see here A, B, C. These are you have to signals. So you have to apply these signals in transistor T1, and there is the ABC, and this is again the demodulated output PWM. So here transistor T1 is work as a inverter, and hence during the time interval A to B, when the PWM signal is high, the input to transistor is low, and therefore during this time interval transistor T2 is cut off and capacitor C gets charged. So this is again a charging. During the time interval B to C, when PWM signal is low, the input to transistor T2 is high, because that is work as an inverter, and it gets saturated, and the capacitor C then discharges very rapidly through the T2. So the collector voltage of T2 during the interval BC is then low. So thus the waveform at the collector of T2 is more or less a sawtooth waveform whose envelope is the modulating signals. So when this is passed through a second order op-amp low pass filter, we get the desired demodulated output. So you can see here, this is a basically PWM demodulation path. So this input, and this is work as an inverter. So if you are talking about the output of this transistor T1, so that is equal to, you can invert all the signals. Just see here. And now we will apply these signals to this one, and after that we will get the charging, discharging through this type of signals, and all these your PWM signals will be converted in the form of sampled signals. So you can see here. Now, what about this? So, if you are PWM detector, we can also say in the waveforms also. So, PWM signals. So that is we have to go the Smith trigger, and we have apply a ramp generator. There is a adder. So that is a synchronization pulse generator between the Smith trigger and the adder part. There will be the level shifter, rectifier, and the low pass filter. So all these basic block diagrams will be reflected in our waveforms. So Smith trigger, ramp generator, adder, level shifter, rectifier, LPA. So how you can draw this type of waveforms? So first of all, you have a pulse width modulated signals. Okay, there are the PWM signals, and you have to convert these PWM signal into the PM signals. So first of all, there is a PWM signals, pass it through the Smith trigger. Okay, now then you have to apply a ramp signal. So you have to draw a reference line, and then you will draw your ramp signals, and the ramp signal is same for all the pulses. So there is a ramp signal, and each which particular the point these will cut, so that you can go to the straight. After then go down, use a ramp signals. So that is the output of the ramp generator. So we will pass these signals to the ramp generators, and it will generate the ramp signals. And after in which point it will closes, so you have to again generate is pulse. What type of uniform pulses with fixed duration and constant amplitude pulses will be draw in this particular point, and these pulses will be superimposed on these ramp signals. So you can superimpose these signals to the ramp signals. So now what will happen? These are our signal shape, and then you have to use a level shifter, and upper part will be clipped off, and these upper part will be after clipping give us to the PM signal. So this is the basic what type of block diagram we have to see in our previous slides, and that working will be reflected in these terms of waveforms of our PWM detection circuit. So this is our basically block diagram in which we are working the Smith trigger, ramp generator, adder, level shifter, rectifier, and low pass filter for extracting our signals. So you can see in this diagram, just you can see here. So now we will move to the next slide. PWM demodulation. So basically what we have to done, we have to apply to the Smith trigger. Smith trigger remove the noise. After removing the noise, we are using the Smith trigger for removing the noise. Regenerated PWM is applied to the ramp generator, and synchronization pulse detector is also connected to him, and ramp generator produces a ramp for duration of pulses such that height of ramp are proportional to the width of our PWM signal. So what duration will be the width of our PWM signals? According to that, we will generate the ramp signals. The maximum ramp voltage is retained till the next pulse. So on the other hand, synchronous pulse detector produces the reference pulses with constant amplitude and pulse width. So these pulses are delayed for a specific amount of delay. So that is the maximum we will insert it here, and the delay references pulses and output of ramp generator is added with help of adder, and amount of adder is given to the level shifter. So we have to superimpose these pulses, and after then we will see. And now will negative part of the waveform is clipped by the rectifier circuits, and finally output of rectifier is passed through the low pass filter for recover the modulating signal. So this is our overall process of PWM demodulation circuits. Now we will see what about the advantage of PWM signal. So basically if we are talking about the advantage of PWM signal, so noise is less since PWM amplitude is constant. So in PWM, the signal's amplitude is constant, only width of pulses will vary. So noise is less, signal and noise separation is very easy. So noise can easily be removed. PWM communication doesn't require the synchronization between transmitter and receiver part. So this is also an advantage of our PWM. Now we will discuss about the disadvantage of PWM signals. So in PWM, pulses are varying in width and therefore their power content are variable. So you can see here in PWM, pulses are varying in width. So width are varying and their power content are variable. So if width are varying, so power content is also vary. So this requires that transmitter must be handle the power content of the different amount according to the width of your pulses. Large bandwidth is required for transmission of PWM signals as compared to the PM signals. So this is our the basics advantage and disadvantage of our pulse width modulations. And according to our applications, we have to opt this type of modulation and demodulation techniques. Now we will focus to the pulse position modulation. So in PPM, the position of pulse relative to its unmodulated time occurrence is varied in accordance with the message signals. You can see here, these are your modulating signals and these are the pulse signals. And according to the instantaneous value of your modulating signals, so you can change the width of your pulses. So that is a PWM. And now here you can see here just there is a reference signal. So in that particular wave, what about the particular position of your signals? So that is the PPM wave, and that depends on the after when your pulse width closes, you can generate a constant width pulses at that particular position, and from reference point or starting point of your PWM signals, it will indicate the basic distance between that particular signals. So now that is the PPM generation, pulse position modulation system. You can see here, this is a basically a modulator of PPM generator. We are using the 555 IC for generating the pulse position waveforms. So first of all, we have a PWM signals. We are working from starting of PWM output pulses are applied to the 555 timer ICs, and after then we will generate the PPM output. So PPM generator consists of differentiator and monostable multivibrators. So both are working, and differentiator generates the positive and negative spikes corresponding to the leading and trailing edge of PWM. And diode D1 is used to bypass the positive spikes. The negative spikes are used to trigger the multivibrators. Okay. So monostable multivibrator that generates the pulses of the same width and amplitude with reference to trigger to give the PPM waveforms. So this is a basic generation methods. Now we will little bit focus to the demodulation of our PPM signals. So this is a PPM signals and PPM. So first of all, you have to convert your PPM signals into the PM converter, and after then you will pass it to the low pass filter, and we will receive the message signals. So you can see here, this is a transistors, and you are working on the ABC. These signals you have to apply. You have to apply these signals, and according to that, you have received your sampled signals. So that is basically PPM demodulator circuits, and you convert these signals into the sampled form. And after the calculating it, we can convert samples into the analog signals. So that is the demodulator outputs. So this utilizes the fact that gap between the pulses of PPM signal contains the information regarding the modulating signals, and during the gap A to B between the pulses, transmitter is cut off and capacitor C gets charged through the RC combinations, and during the pulse duration B to C, the capacitor discharges through the transistors and collector voltage becomes the low. Thus, the waveforms at the collector is approximately a sawtooth waveform whose envelope is the modulating signal. So, when this is passed through a second order op-amp low pass filter, we get the desired demodulated outputs. So now we will discuss about the advantage of PPM. So if you are talking about the advantage of PPM, so like PWM in PPM, amplitude is held constant and less noise interference. Signal and noise separation is very easy. So in type of ppm signals, and because of constant pulse width and amplitude, transmission power for each pulse is same. So if you are using the ppm, only position of pulses will be changed, so width and amplitude are constant, so transmission power of each pulse is same. So it is very convenient. Signal and noise can be easily separated, so it is a very good techniques for our pulse modulation techniques. If you are talking about the disadvantage, so synchronization between transmitter and receiver is required. So this is a major disadvantage of our ppm, and it is also required the large bandwidth for transmission of signals. So there is a comparison between the PAM, PWM and PPM. So we can see here amplitude is varied, in PWM width vary, and if we are talking about the PPM, position is varied. Here, bandwidth depends on the width of the pulses, bandwidth depends on the rise time of pulses, and here also rise time of pulses. And instantaneous transmitter power varies with the amplitude of pulses. Instantaneous transmitter power varies with the amplitude and width of pulses, and here remains constant because width and amplitude are same. System complexity is high, low and low. So PM there is a more complex with respect to PWM and PPM. So noise interference is high, noise interference is low, and in PPM also it is low. It is similar to the amplitude modulation, it is similar to the frequency modulation, and it is similar to the phase modulation. So now we will focus our point to the some objective questions. The process of using a pulse signal to represent information. So what type of this process we have to call it, so you can solve it better. And which of the following is not a form of pulse modulation? So that is basically you will judge it. How many voltage levels are present in a PWM signals? Which of the following is false with respect to pulse position modulation? So you have to know the basic concept of ppm, pwm. The process of signal compression and expansion, so what you have to told this. Which type of digital modulation is widely used for digital data transmission? So you have to observe digital modulation. Distorted signal of frequency FM is recovered. So that is the, you have to know what should the your sampling frequency. Your sampling frequency should be either greater than or equal to 2 FM. So this is a basic criteria. If you have not select your proper sampling frequency, so your signals will be destroyed. Your signals will be not recovered at the receiver part. So when you have to done the sampling, you have to much focused on the sampling frequency. If you are talking about the pulse position modulation, so the drawbacks are synchronization is required between the transmitter and the receiver part. So that is a basic things. What about the drawbacks? Large bandwidth is required. None of above, both A and B. So this is a basic property. What about the PWM signal reception? So the Smith trigger circuit is used. So why we are using the Smith trigger circuit in the PWM signal part? We have to already seen that we have to use this Smith trigger circuit to remove the noise level. So I think it is a good. We have to cover all the things of our pulse communication system. Why we are opting this pulse communication system? So instead of opting the PCM system, that is the work on the encoding part. So without doing the encoding, without giving the encoding, we will slightly convert our analog signals in terms of discrete form. And by opting these signals, we can reduce the noise effects, and we are just moving towards the digital signals. How we can represent our digital signal. So this is the basic steps which we are to opting, how we can to generate. What about, so if we are, since we are working on the pulse communication, means you are working on the pulse transmission, so what process or what things you have to remember, that the sampling frequency rate should be either greater than or equal to 2 FM, because if your sampling frequency is not follow this particular Nyquist criteria theorem, what will happen there? Your signals will be distorted and you cannot recover your signals at the receiver part. So this is a very important point when we are working on the pulse communication system. And today we will discuss about the analog pulse communication system. So now in our next lectures we will discuss about the pulse code modulation system. And in this pulse code modulation system, what we have to done, you have to done first the sampling. So sampling is compulsory. After doing the sampling, what will happens, quantizations. And what will happens in quantization, you will convert your sampled signals into the discrete levels. You will divide your signals into the different quantization levels, and then you can mark them the basic binary number to all of these. So okay, thank you.